Hey everyone, and welcome back to Bridging the Gap. My name is Alvin. I lead right on most issues, and I'll be representing the Republican side.
Hello, I'm Luke. I lean left on most issues, and I'll be representing the Democratic side. Now, in this video, we're going to be looking at the special elections uh, and how and what they mean for the 2022 midterm elections.
Yeah, so conveniently here we have a tweet from Dave Wasserman, who is one of the chief political analysts at the Cook Political Report, and he's listed out the presidential 2020 partisan lead of each district and the corresponding special election result. Um, in terms of pre-Dobbs and post-Dobbs special elections. So we'll be starting with California and ending in New York with our analysis. So just touching briefly on the ones pre-Dobbs, in California, we had Connie Conway win by a very large margin in a district that Trump only won by 5. And we had Mayra Flores, the first Mexican-born congresswoman, win in Texas's 34th district and avoiding a runoff. So this is pretty good news for the Republicans. And Luke, you can take it away with the rest.
Yeah, in the rest of the races, we have Nebraska first, where we had I believe Mike Flood going up against Patty Pansing Brooks. After that, we had the Minnesota first, where Brad Finstad went up against Jeff Ettinger. Next, we had a very interesting Alaska at-large special election between Mary Peltola, Sarah Palin, and Nick Begich. And then there was, furthermore, after that, we have two New York specials, the 19th and the 23rd. And yeah.
Yeah, so just looking at each of these, they each have their own individual stories, turnout stories, their abortion stories, etc. And just beginning in Nebraska here, this race was not expected to be this close. It just coming off of Trump winning this by a safe margin of 11 points, and usually Lincoln, Nebraska here offsets the rest of the rural districts, but not enough. And here it didn't do enough either, but it was closer than expected. And this is the first, worrying signs for Republicans' red wave.
Yeah. Like if you look at the pre-Dobbs special elections, the Republicans like did what you'd expect in a wave year. They trounced the Democrats, and they flipped the seat Biden won. But as soon as that Dobbs ruling was handed down, we started to see the Democrats doing better. Like immediately, the first sign of that was Nebraska first, I would say, where the Democrat got it down to a likely margin and outperformed the Biden margin by like 5 or 6 points.
Yeah, I see that as well. I'm not totally convinced that Dobbs is, that big of a deal. I think Dobbs definitely enthuses the progressives to go vote and maybe makes independents break for the Democrats by a few more points. But I think also importantly, we've seen gas prices fall under $4 recently nationwide, I believe, and we've seen the economy just get a little better. And with Republicans running mainly on the economy, that doesn't bode well for them in terms of any of these general elections. Next, we had Minnesota's first district, where Brad Finstad only won by 4 points in a district that Trump won by 10. And this is a district where I don't think we can extrapolate too much, just because on the House level, this district has always been very close and just ultimately better for the Democrats on the House level. I think we can see a lot of legacy Democrat, legacy boomer Democrats in this rural district that tend to favor Trump, but also the House Democrats for some
I don't
reason.
know about that because I mean the House Democrats that were there for a while. So like you can see like having that incumbency advantage, and the area has been generally moving more right outside of Rochester. I do think this does bode well for the Democrats because like the Republican only got 51%, and when you combine the Democratic vote with the legal weed and the weed parties, I mean you get the Democrat up to like 49. So like I think it was really close. in this Minnesota first. I think if the Democrats put more money into it, they could actually flip it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just realized that grassroots is actually a really good pun for the legal weed party. Anyways, I think there's a point to your argument, but I still don't see that much of Dobbs doing that much here. And then of course we had Alaska, which we covered in depth on our channel. And in Alaska, both of us thought a
We're
Republican.
very wrong, yeah.
Yeah, we both of us. I wasn't that wrong. Okay, I thought Palin.
I wasn't that wrong. I think if Begich beat well, like, you know, okay, let's be fair though, right? So Begich in that first round, Begich was under Palin by 2 or 3 points, right? If he had gotten that 2 or 3 percentage point more, he would have made it in the second round and he would have trounced Peltola. Palin, on the other hand, you said what, +4 Palin? Peltola actually won that second round by 3, so you were off by 7.
Well, here's the thing. My calculations were pretty much on the dot in terms of how much of the Begich vote Peltola would get, but I didn't really calculate the exhaust rate of Begich's votes. That was my main problem. I just assumed, Peltola gets X amount of votes and Palin gets the rest, which I shouldn't have done, but ranked choice voting is the first time ranked choice voting really mattered in the US. So the first time I did not really look at the exhaust rate, which I will look into for the general.
Yeah, this one was very, very interesting. So we had Mary Peltola from those more, she's an Alaskan native from more of those rural areas of Alaska, which lean blue, strangely. And she's like an ex-state legislator. Then obviously we have former Governor Sarah Palin, which was extremely unpopular in the state and still is. Nick Begich is more of like a generic Republican. He got the endorsement of the Republican Party of Alaska. So, but first round, Palin went in with the Trump endorsement. Nick Begich didn't. I think that pushed her over the top over Begich in that first round. So that led Peltola and Palin to move on the second, and the Begich vote to be reallocated. Interestingly, though, only 50% of the Begich vote went to Palin. Just under 30 went to Peltola, and 20% didn't vote at all. So I think it just goes to show how much Begich voters disliked Palin, and that eventually put Peltola over the top.
Yep, that exhaust rate hurt Palin for sure. And it goes to show, I mean, in the general election in November, this could go to any of the 3 candidates again, and we'll see how that one goes. I mean, technically, the Republicans combined got nearly 60%. And you can't really extrapolate too much again from this race just because of ranked choice voting. Obviously, the Democrat won, but Palin is uniquely disliked. And, the Republicans technically still got 60%. So it's difficult to tell.
You could argue, though, that moderates may have picked Begich because, it's a Democratic family in Alaska. I mean, I don't know.
Doesn't his whole family hate him though and voted for
Peltola? Very, very much. That must be a very awkward Thanksgiving. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe that name convinced moderates. Okay, maybe this is a more moderate Republican. I don't know. But in the end, Peltola did still end up winning, and she got a significant chunk of that Begich vote. So, and I don't know.
All right. Anyways. Finally, we have New York, where it's pretty undisputed that the Democrats overperformed in both. Both districts were suburban/rural districts. There wasn't really a main city in either of them, and like a large major city in New York. And some on the right are saying that if the white working class did not turn out to vote because they're lower educated than the suburb or the college town suburban moms, etc., which allowed the Democrats to overperform. I don't exactly buy that completely, but in New York 19, where Molinaro and Pat Ryan were strong candidates, and both parties spent a lot of money in here, Pat Ryan still pulled it off at about the same margin that Biden pulled it off, leading some to believe, this is a more neutral environment. come
But
November.
I would like to note though that Molinaro won that same district against Cuomo in 2018, a Democratic wave year, by over 10 points. So Molinaro was basically the strongest possible candidate the Republicans could have had in New York 19, and he still lost to Pat Ryan, which I find kind of crazy. I mean, like Pat Ryan still beat him. That's insane. Like, I mean, sure, it was like the same margin as Joe Biden, but I think that still bodes really well for Dem candidates. And also another thing about Pat Ryan is he focused his campaign on abortion rights, and I think that really helped him there, and pulled him over the top.
Yeah. And other than that, we have all these turnout percentage numbers. And in the past, Republicans have been more educated than than Democrats, and they usually win in lower turnout elections. And this is starting to flip with, the realignment in both parties. And we see here he's said, it's a caution flag on Demo performance. Why? Because all these turnouts are very low compared to the New Jersey and Virginia gubernatorial races where Republicans obviously popped off. And, it's sort of a sign of concern, but not really. It's always better to win special elections than to lose them. So there we go.
Yeah, I think overall, I think these special elections kind of show that Democrats have a chance going into 2022 to do pretty okay. Like everyone, previously earlier in the year, we thought Republicans would eviscerate the Democrats and just like complete red wave, but this goes against that.
Yep, it definitely does. So Republicans need to step up their game. And there we go. So just a quick video here on the special elections. Thanks for watching. Like this video down below. Subscribe, leave a comment.
Make sure to share.
There we go. Thanks for watching.
See ya.